790, Blaine Amendment. Repeals a section of the state constitution commonly referred to as the Blaine Amendment. This prohibits the use of public property or expenditures for religious purposes, most notably the issue that was created by the Oklahoma Supreme Court's ruling that the Ten Commandments monument had to be removed from the state capitol complex. Supporters say this measure will enhance the First Amendment and partnerships between the government and charitable organizations that have religious affiliations, such as the Salvation Army. Without this amendment, many well-intentioned organizations, such as the Boy Scouts, may not be able to hold meetings or events at public facilities like schools. Opponents say this will erode the separation of church and state. This will allow for scholarships and taxpayer dollars supporting students to attend religious private schools.
That's not on our list, but
Yeah, it's an addition because as we have gone, this is not the first time I've presented this. This is one of the arguments that has recently come up. So that's not on the original supporters and opponents say, but that is one of the arguments that we have continually heard as we presented this statewide. Questions on the Blaine Amendment? Yes, ma'am.
Why are you calling it the Blaine Amendment?
The Blaine Amendment was something that was adopted, I don't remember, 1920s, 30s, but it was based on U.S. Senator, I believe, and they have dubbed it the Blaine Amendment. And that is something that as they continue to change that, that's kind of the origination, and many states adopted that amendment and put it into their constitution whenever that whole thing came down. I can't remember the specific time frame, but each state actually adopted it into their constitution, and this is an alteration of that amendment, which the Oklahoma Supreme Court made its ruling on the Ten Commandments, based off of the amendment that was adopted in the past by Oklahoma in the Constitution.
So let's say that the Blaine Amendment wasn't in the Oklahoma Constitution, and that Supreme ruling or Supreme Court ruling had come down. Would the federal government's amendment at the federal level, let's say it went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, would that not have stopped us at any way? You see where I'm going with this? So
Possibly. There is a chance that could have stopped us anyway, but depends on which court system you're in, and this one was filed in the Oklahoma Supreme Court, and they referred specifically to the amendment that was adopted by our Oklahoma Constitution. In that amendment that was adopted, that was given to each state to either adopt or not, and Oklahoma did. Yeah.
I have a statement and a clarifying question about the state question. So as I read State Question 790, to me, what I hear from people is that they believe that this would open up religious freedoms for Christians specifically. However, my clarifying question to you is, will this open up other religions besides Christianity to public schools?
Possibly. I think that that would be something that would be definitely challenged. That is one of the things that many of the people who like the idea of 790 and don't. The reason why this was so heavily discussed in the legislature, and this is in a legislative referendum as well, is because of the actual decision that came down and some of the statements on the majority decision, because it got very broad and it could affect even non-religious affiliated organizations. And that's what was talked about in terms of Boy Scouts and their ability to be able to use even school facilities or public facilities. And that's the reason why there was an effort. The origination of it was definitely the Ten Commandments and the discussion that occurred there. As I've presented this, could a non-Christian entity then do some sort of a public display on public ground if this was to pass? Possibly. I think that there would probably be a large outcry. But that being said, it could possibly go down that path.